I have not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
All right, it's a Mackey solo pod here late in the night on this Tuesday. The Wolves lose just an ugly, grimy game to the Lakers here, who even the series 94-85. So many things to discuss and dissect from this one. I'm going to fly solo for 15, 20 minutes, and then we'll give you guys more Flagrant Howls content throughout the week here with a few days between Games 2 and Game 3 when these teams come back to Target Center. Before we dive in with some key takeaways, my favorite things, my least favorite things from this ugly basketball game. By the way, 85 points by the Timberwolves tonight. Easily their lowest scoring offensive output on the season. I just looked this up right before jumping on with you guys. And these are like from November when they've just assembled this brand new collection of teammates and they're trying to figure things out. They scored 93 points in a win over the Clippers on Friday, November 29th, 93-92. And then they scored 94 points in a loss to the Heat on November 10th. The only other two times the Wolves have been held under 100 points, also both in November and December, a win against the Lakers, 97-87, and then a loss to the Blazers, one of those just ugly back-to-back games against Portland. So, this is only the fifth time all year, including regular season, that the Wolves have scored under 100 points. So we'll get to some of the key takeaways from this game. A shout-out to Bricsworth in the North Loop, which, with the Wolves coming back home for a couple playoff games here, is a great spot to congregate pregame, even for away games. They got the TVs rocking. You can belly up, enjoy some of the best dry rub wings in the Twin Cities, that Detroit-style pizza, and also the Nas Reed signature hazy IPA that they're slinging. So check them out if you haven't already, before or after a Wolves game. Bricsworth in the North Loop. Also, that's where the Purple Daily Draft Party pre-party is at 3:30 to 5 o'clock on Thursday. So come hang out with us and enjoy a couple beverages before the Purple Daily Draft Party. Also, our friends at Element Hotel are helping to power Flagrant Howls this season. Element Hotel offering a 15% room rate discount for all Flagrant Howls and Score North listeners. Purple Daily Draft Party included, by the way. When you go to scorenorth.com/element, that's scorenorth.com/element, just down the street from Target Center. Maybe you're coming to town for a playoff game, need a place to stay, walkable to some of the best restaurants and most popular bars in the downtown Minneapolis area. Bright natural lighting, great city views, so check it out, Element Hotel. Man, I think a lot of people watching that game tonight figured when the Lakers came out with just a completely different energy, monster Luka game, especially in the first half, and they built that 20-point lead early. It was 34-15 at the end of the first quarter, but it was like, bam, 20-point lead. And you're kind of thinking, all right, well, hey, they got one. They got game one. They stole home court in the series, and whatever. Now you're going to go back to Minnesota for game 3. But then they start chipping away at this thing in the second quarter and the third quarter. And I think that's what made this game so frustrating and maddening to watch. It was a combination of Lakers leaving the door open, but also Wolves clamping down on defense in some spots after that first quarter. And they just couldn't break through offensively. They had so many chances. They cut that thing to 11 points in the third quarter, and then boom, lid on the basket. Lakers push it back to 20. Then they whittle it down again, and it's a bad turnover late in the fourth quarter. It's just a bunch of missed buckets. And to go from hitting 21 of 42 3-pointers in game 1 of the series to only getting 25 threes off, which we'll talk about too, 5 for 25 from the 3-point line. Yeah, like the Lakers clearly emphasized, don't let them, A, get that many 3-pointers off, and B, contest them. And the Wolves missed a bunch of open threes too. So, yeah, I thought like the biggest noticeable thing for me was JJ Redick shredded his team in-game interview for game 1, and then all throughout the week, the post-game and his press conferences for just not matching the Wolves' playoff energy. And so right away, you noticed the Lakers crowding Timberwolves ball handlers, even picking guys up, especially like once Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Dante DiVincenzo came in to handle the ball, picking those guys up 3/4 court, hard, aggressive defense, crowding three-point shooters, and making the Wolves either move off those shots or pass the ball and settle for something inside the three-point line. So, yeah, I mean, the Wolves are going to have to counter adjust back and find ways to generate more open looks. I also thought, so Anthony Edwards ran into a hard screen early, and he basically spent the entire first quarter just like flexing his shoulder and wincing, and it just felt like he was really tentative to fight through screens and to even put shots up. He was struggling. He missed a free throw or two, if I remember right, in that first quarter, and it was like he got shell-shocked, little shoulder injury early, and became tentative for a few minutes, and boom, the Lakers are up by 19 or 20 points. And then Anthony Edwards, the version that we're used to, kind of came around again. But, yeah, it's like they came out the way that you would expect them to come out, with one of the greatest players ever in LeBron James, one of the greatest offensive scorers of all time. Monster Luka game, made a ton of shots, got to the free throw line. The biggest thing was the playmaking, too. So game one, I think he only had one assist in game one, and that was tied for the fewest assists of any of his 51 playoff games up until game two here. And to that point in his playoff career, when Luka winds up with 5 or fewer assists in a playoff game, his teams are like 2-7. So if you can eliminate playmaker Luka, you have a much better chance to beat Luka teams with the Mavericks, and we'll see with the Lakers here, small sample size. But playmaker Luka was back again tonight, and so he not only does he go off for pretty much whatever offensive. I mean, the second half Wolves did force him into some misses, but getting to the free throw line, 11 for 11. The Lakers did not miss a free throw in this game, 20 for 20 from the free throw line. But then you kick in a near triple-double for Luka Doncic, and you knew that was going to come at some point. He wasn't just going to be curled up in the fetal position. I did think he was hunting the entire night for Rudy Gobert on pick and rolls. There was times where he would spend half a possession, like 10, 12, 14 seconds of the shot clock, just manipulating a pick and roll to get that switch to get Rudy. And then the crowd's getting into it. This narrative that Rudy has no idea how to operate out on skates on the perimeter. I actually thought so. Could have used a few more rebounds from Rudy. They got to find a way to unlock his size on offense too. I'm not talking about like posting him up, but can you find some ways to get him easy looks around the basket, some lobs, something? But I thought the one thing Rudy did really well tonight was handle those islands against Luka, forcing him to pass. Or at one point he picked Luka's pocket and then went coast to coast for a reverse layup. So kind of a mixed bag there for Rudy Gobert tonight. I will say the Wolves wound up tonight, of all the starters, Rudy had the best plus minus. The Wolves were a -2 with Rudy on the court. They were actually a -14 in the Julius Randle minutes, despite the fact that he kind of took things into his own hands, especially in that second quarter, and kept the Wolves in it offensively. They were a -9 in the Ant minutes. I thought Finch would go back to Terrence Shannon Jr. That was one of my, let's go to the next category here, least favorite things from this game. The 7 minutes that Terrence Shannon Jr. gave the Wolves from the I guess with the 7-minute mark to halftime of the end of the first half, just a bolt of energy. He had a couple nice defensive possessions on Luka. He had that one where he guarded Luka right up until the end of the shot clock, and then he kind of got baited in, and he jumped, and Luka drew the foul. But the Wolves were actually a +7 in those minutes and took it from a 19-point game, 20-point game to something more manageable. And I don't love that Finch didn't go back. Plus, Naz Reid was awful tonight. Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. DiVincenzo was in foul trouble the whole night. So I guess I would have, as that they cut it to 11 in the third quarter, it goes back to 20. I wouldn't have minded some Terrence Shannon Jr. energy there, just to throw a different energy and a different look at the Lakers. Man, some other things from my notes. I mean, Naz Reid and Dante DiVincenzo each picking up 3 fouls before the 10-minute mark of the second quarter. Absolutely. I mean, those guys were, especially Naz Reid in game one, just key and pivotal coming in, halfway through the first quarter. Naz Reid winds up with like 6 made threes in game one. So then DiVincenzo checks in for the second half and immediately picks up his 4th foul too. So just no rhythm, no flow for those guys. Completely different, especially for Naz Reid compared to game one. Not his finest performance. We already kind of touched on the 3-point shooting, but yeah, the Wolves started the game again after going 21 of 42 from 3 in game one. They wind up starting 2 for 14 in this game, and they started to knock down a few threes here and there late, but just I guess, I mean, there are some silver linings here in that you're not going to shoot 38% in the series. You're not going to shoot 5 of 25 again from 3-point range. And I highly doubt that you're going to see another game where Naz Reid and Dante DiVincenzo each have 3 fouls at the 10-minute mark of the second quarter. But credit to the Lakers for, it wasn't like, hey, the Wolves were wide open all night and they just clanked a bunch of open jumpers to shoot 38% and then 20% from 3. I mean, the Lakers were excellent defensively early in that game. They emptied the bag and emptied the gas tank with their energy, and it definitely prevented the Wolves from getting the open looks that they got in the first game of the series. Yeah, I think a couple other things. Julius Randle, in some ways, it's nice to have a guy that can kind of just, hey, we need a bucket, go isolation for 5 or 6 possessions and kind of carry this thing. It looked like he was going 1-on-5 at times in that second quarter. Like, hey, all right, you guys are struggling over here. Anthony Edwards, I don't know what's going on with your shoulder, so I'm just going to do Julius Randle bully ball things. So he winds up with the 27 points, handful of assists, a few rebounds. But I don't know, man. It's nice to have that option because Julius can get a bucket, but I just like the 1-on-5 thing and dribbling the air out of the ball. Like that's kind of where the Wolves were at in November and December. They're much better when he is a playmaking facilitator and then the ball kind of comes back around. So thanks for the offense, but it's just not a formula for the Wolves. The last 2 months, like he's been much more of a playmaker. And tonight I think he just felt the need that no one else is scoring. So Mike Conley, man, 0 for 5 in this game. He missed a couple wide open threes at key times, and he wound up with 0 points on this night. He missed a couple floaters in close to, and Jaden McDaniels picked up some fouls in this game and just wasn't quite the offensive force that he was obviously in game one, which I think game one was probably Jaden McDaniels' best career playoff game. It tied a career high in points, efficiency, and they just did a better job of neutralizing him too. So yeah, this is, in some ways, it's about as bad as the Wolves have played in 2 months. In other ways, if you're the Lakers and you had a 34-15 lead after the first quarter, and this team continues to just come at you, they're breaking all these shots, but they're just sitting there down by 8 or 9 points with chances to make it even closer with like 2 and 3 minutes left. I do wonder. I'm curious to go consume some Lakers and national content at some point in the next day or two. Do they feel great about this? Because if you're the Wolves, like at the end of the day, you held the Lakers well under 100 points again, even after giving up 34 points in the first half. And you have to assume that your offense is going to come back around, especially once you get back to Target Center and the crowd gets rocking. It leaves a bad taste that you fell in such a hole early on and that you lost this game that felt winnable at times in the second half. But big picture, to come away with a split, to go back to Target Center and to regroup and maybe like, I almost feel like if you look at the Lakers, they're throwing out, they're trying eight minutes of Jared Vanderbilt. It does not go well. Jordan Goodwin got a few minutes, but mostly just to give other guys a breather. The Lakers, and then, by the way, Jackson Hayes, only 9 minutes because he starts and then basically just parks for the rest of the game. The Lakers are essentially playing a 6-man rotation with a smattering of Jared Vanderbilt, Jordan Goodwin, and Jackson Hayes. Luka, 41 minutes. 40-year-old LeBron, 39 minutes. Hachimura, 34 minutes. Austin Reeves, 42 minutes. Dorian Finney-Smith, 38 minutes. And, of course, you get the 72 hours between games. But as you get further into the series, the rest shortens up. If you can get game 3 and then the rest starts to shorten here, game 3 is going to be so huge here. But I just feel like the longer this series goes, from a depth standpoint, energy standpoint, I'm leaning Wolves, man. I'm leaning Wolves. They have the home court advantage. I just think 3 or 4 of the guys on this team had about as bad of games. Mike Conley, about as bad as he can play offensively. Naz Reid, 0 for until the last few minutes of that game. You know, DiVincenzo's only made like 2 shots, 3 shots in the whole series so far. He's only made 1 3-pointer. So it still feels like the Wolves have some levers to pull here. I think you're going to get at some point a monster like 40-point Anthony Edwards game. So, yeah, this playoff basketball, man. And you're playing 2 of the all-time greats. J.J. Redick, also with a loaded coaching staff. The Lakers were going to come back, make some adjustments. They did so tonight. And this thing is even going back to Target Center. So we'll see. Just reading the comments here. Yeah, from 420 Sports, DiVincenzo been bad. Yeah, he hasn't been. You know, he's grabbed a couple key rebounds here and there, but the shot making has not been there yet. The foul trouble was just I mean, he only played 16 minutes tonight because he picked up those 3 early fouls and then immediately hits the bench. So he's the type of dude that I feel like needs to be out there just like getting a feel for the flow of the game, 25, 27, 30 minutes, and then he really settles in. But when he's in, out 16 minutes, I feel like it's hard for him to get into a rhythm here. So is this true? Is Ant in a shoulder sling? Can you guys confirm that in the comment section? Yeah, I do wonder to what extent that threw his game off here tonight. And obviously, if that's going to be a lingering thing through the rest of the series, then the scope of this thing changes. So I'm going to wrap this solo recap podcast here, Flagrant Howls, and we'll be back at you with plenty more throughout this series here as the Wolves look to go back home and retake the lead on Friday night, 8:30 tip-off. Man, that place is going to be on fire. Target Center is going to be absolutely rocking. This might be the last time LeBron James plays a playoff game these next couple games, depending on how the series goes, in Target Center too. So you're kind of watching some history here. But yeah, you going? Zach Nutzer says you going to the game, Phil. So I'm not gonna be at game 3 because we're gonna be kind of like home base on Friday night with a Purple Daily night 2 of the draft stream, and then reacting to whatever the Vikings do, and then we'll do a post game show. But yeah, the sports dad and myself will be in the house for game 4, and then any other home games going forward. So we'll see, man. This was one comment here because I see some referee stuff. Dre the Great says refs were biased AF. I mean, listen, the Lakers weren't called for a foul in the first 20 minutes of game time of game 1. Like, never seen that in my life. Like, it's either the most incredible Houdini defense that's ever been played, or the refs were swallowing the whistle when the Lakers were making contact. They had 3 fouls in the first handful of minutes tonight. Yeah, Luka definitely. They've got some foul baiters there. I mean, Luka, he can be maddening to watch for as incredible as he is, and for as much of a machine and a playmaker as he is. Nobody in the league spends more time absolutely berating officials. And by the way, if you're the refs, like you can tee that dude up. You know, he's just constantly ragging and bagging. When Rudy picked his pocket, that might have been the funniest one. Rudy picks his pocket, and he's got the breakaway coast to coast. And Luka, during the middle of the possession, turns to bitch at the officials. So, but I don't know. I mean, there's definitely more fouls being called in this game. I just feel like the physicality in this game, the Lakers brought it to the Wolves much more aggressively, and I don't think the officials were a major factor at all for why. Like, yes, the Lakers 20 of 20 from the free throw line, but the Wolves shot more free throws than the Lakers did. The Wolves were 20 of 25 from the free throw line. So it's not like you can sit here and say that there was some sort of discrepancy. The Wolves shot more free throws than the Lakers did in this game. And it was more about the Lakers' defense running the Wolves off the three-point line, and the Wolves ultimately not being able to hit any of their shots. The ball got a little sticky at times, too, and it felt like Anthony Edwards got frustrated a couple times just trying to figure out. There was one funny moment, though, at the end of the first half where the Lakers went zone for one of the last possessions, like 30 seconds left in the first half. And which is what the Bucks did for the entire fourth quarter of that historic comeback, maybe the most frustrating loss of the year for the Wolves. And Anthony Edwards unlocks the zone, slithers in and gets a layup, and he turns to the Lakers bench and he flexes and I think he pointed to his head like, you know, hey, I outsmarted you. And I believe what he yelled, because the microphones picked it up courtside, and I thought he yelled something like, I'm not that guy anymore, studying film or whatever it may be. So, and then the Ant posterization of Jackson Hayes. Oh my gosh. Probably a top 3 Anthony Edwards dunk of his career so far. That was wild. But yeah, Lakers beat the Wolves 94-55. Wolves get their split. Now this thing heads back to Target Center, where the Wolves have home court advantage for the rest of the series, unless they give it back, and we'll see what happens. I think this is shaping up to be a really good, fun, long, strategic chess match series between some all-time great players and a couple of coaching staffs that have been great at game planning and adjusting. So we'll see what happens. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us here. Hopefully this was somewhat therapeutic. If you enjoy Flagrant Howls, you can help us grow this thing by clicking the like button and the subscribe button on the Score North YouTube channel. And also on Apple and Spotify, if you could give us a 5-star rating and a positive review, can help us grow the show on the audio side as well. I am Phil, and this is a Timberwolves Lifestyle Podcast.